2, 1.
You are watching Sipping Off the Cuff on TequilaAficionado.com. I'm Alex Perez.
I am Mike Morales here in San Antonio at the HQ here, and Alex, you're over at the Area 51. I'm excited because we are the voice of tequila, mezcal, and sotol, and for our Sipping Off the Cuff series, this is our first mezcal entry, and it's from the same gentleman. It's Sombra, from the same gentleman that put out Astral, which we have done previously on the show. And I had Sombra. The first time was at Las Perlas in downtown Los Angeles. When I was down there, we were down there for Carlos Camarena's debut, and it was the first time I had it. I'd heard about this brand. It was kind of a big deal because it came from Richard Betts, who's the wine guy and the wine connoisseur, and he had a tequila and a mezcal. And this is his version of mezcal. And when the packages came, Alex, I know that you got yours, but we got these little gourds that say Sombra. Yeah, and traditionally mezcal, there is no real glass right now for mezcal, although there are several that are being used for mezcal. But traditionally, we either drink them out of the clay copitas, which we've seen from Ron Cooper. We were talking off the air, off the camera, that you had tasted some of Ron Cooper's mezcals recently, which to me is the bar. It's where all other mezcals aspire to be, and of course the benchmark. He invented the industry, really. But the gourds is also a traditional way of tasting mezcal, and this one is it is Espadin, and the village, it comes from San Juan del Rio. When you read the information that was given to us with Sombra, it tells you exactly how the espadín is grown, how the village takes care of it, how they raise it. It's very much a small batch operation, and again, it's in keeping with Richard Betts's view and focus of what he wanted to accomplish.
Yeah, it's something I've never been to Oaxaca. It's one of my bucket list entries, so to speak. It'd be neat to see that whole concept of protecting your resource that you're creating with that village, and really see the people working towards creating that, what they do.
Yeah, there are several films and snippets that people have posted on Facebook about the process, depending on what brand you're talking about. And it's hard work. It really is. Most all mezcals, except for maybe one or two, and you all know which ones they are, that are mass produced. This is really a handcrafted agave spirit. And you take your time with stuff like that. Like I say, there's no real glassware for the mezcal, but we're going to use our riedels, and I'm going to pour a little bit into my gourd here. Alex, it's kind of an off color, everything that they do to this mezcal and to others that we'll be tasting are natural. So if you see any legs or tears, it's just from the natural glycerin that occurs when they do the distillation. Some of the stills that they use are slapped together, put together, maintained by the family for a long time, and so they're well seasoned. This is I think it's a double distillation. If I'm
I think you're right.
Yeah, I'll read some of the flavor, some of the notes, and how the spirit is made after harvesting. The agave Hearts panniers are placed in a rock-lined conical pit, a palenque, 12 feet in diameter and 8 feet deep. They use an intense oak fire. Uh, uh, these are wrapped in a layer of banana leaf mats. I mean, everything they do has a reason for it. It has a purpose. Wild yeast only. Uh, it takes 8 days to ferment. The liquid is transferred to a copper still that is heated by wood fire, vaporized, and condensed. The first run through takes about 3 hours, and the second distillation about 7 hours. So this is a definitely a
Yeah.
time consuming thing. Very labor intensive. Ah, and the traditional smokiness.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is. For some, it would be considered an acquired taste, but really, this is a nice, gentle smokiness. I have had other mezcals, actually primarily from Ron Cooper's lines of mezcals, and some of them are more deeply smoked than others.
Yeah. It's a nice, gentle wood smoke.
Yeah,
It's not
like
it's not overpowering.
no, 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 not at all.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, on this Riedel, I'm really very limited as to what I'm getting out of it because all I really get is smoke. And honestly, the first time I tried this, Alex, when we had our delivery, I tried it in the gourd, and where the alcohol just dissipates much quicker, and it's not even influenced by the aroma of the gourd, and there's much more to it.
Yeah. Aside from the smokiness, I can smell some. What is that?
There's a sweetness in there also.
Yes, that's some spices. I can get spices,
Mm, mm.
spiciness in there. Let's try it with the gourd,
Oh,
which is interesting.
tell me if you don't smell more than just smoke, because I'm just getting smoke.
Wow, now I can almost get like a citrus.
Yeah. Honestly, folks, this is much more enjoyable in a gourd. We've been sourcing out glassware for mezcals because we're receiving more and more of them at both headquarters, and so we want to make sure that we give an accurate account to those of you watching of what we're getting from some of the mezcals that are arriving, and I think the glassware is really important. So, Alex, I think the gourd is an important thing. If you have any clay copitas from Ron Cooper's supply, that some of us who have seen or been with Ron, you get the little clay pots, copitas we call them,
The teeny weeny ones.
the teeny weeny ones, yeah. There is a gentleman that we're getting a hold of who has developed a glass gourd for his mezcal. He has a line of mezcals, but he's an artist as well. So he's designed
Oh,
a
nice.
glass for for his mezcal, and so and it turns out he's about 20 minutes away from where we live. So we're going to get a hold of him. We're hoping to interview him and have him show us the glass that he's developed for his mezcal, which is in the shape of a gourd. Um,
That'll be an
and
interesting taste.
the other thing that we're experimenting with, Alex, and I'll bring it out when we do our other mezcal a little bit later on in our other shows. We're experimenting with the neat glass. I don't know if you've ever seen those or if you've received samples of those. Um, They're an unusual design. We'll show them on camera a little bit later on, but they tend to have an open lip, and it diffuses the alcohol molecules so that you get more of what you're looking for. It's difficult to use. It's probably not my favorite glassware to use with a tequila, but with a mezcal, I think it would be very nice.
It might work.
What do you think? What are your thoughts? This is a you and I have had some like I said we've had the benchmark. So what do you think of Sombra?
You know what? I think Sombra is a refined mezcal. It's got a it's I like the nose. I'm getting more than just the smokiness in the nose. I got some citrus.
Hmm.
I can smell some of the spices, even in the Riedel. And I like that the smoke is not, overpowering. And then on the palate, it's very very pleasant.
Yeah, it's not. It still has the warm fuzzy and the nice finish. Some of the mezcals that I've had have a much longer and stronger finish at the end. This one's actually very pleasant.
Yeah, it's not overpowering. It's almost a little fruity. I wonder if you get a
Yeah.
little fruity.
Well, the fact that they have the when they roast these, they do it on a bed of banana leaves,
I think
and
you get banana on the nose too.
yeah. Well, everything that they do from the roasting to the fermentation to the distillation has a purpose, and it adds a layer of flavor to this particular mezcal. So if we get any fruitiness, it would be like plantain or bananas,
Right.
plátanos. It would probably be more plátanos,
I got some.
plantain.
I got some plátanos in there.
Yeah. And the gourd itself is really interesting. Some of the better mezcals are almost like sotols. If they're aged properly, it actually adds another layer as opposed to mask or overpower the agave distillate. And this one, you know, honestly, for anybody who's never been introduced to a mezcal, this would be I think it would be a nice. I don't even want to call it a gateway so much as uh,
Introduction.
introduction. Yeah, because this still has a punch. I mean, you're not drinking tequila,
Right.
obviously. I think for those who may be a little bit more versed in the mezcal part of it, 100% agave joven is what they're calling it, and it's 45% alcohol by volume. So traditionally mezcals are at a higher ABV anyway. The gnome on this one is gnome 072X. If that means anything to you, that may be where the palenque is, the gnome number of the palenque where they produce this tequila or this mezcal. And agave de Oaxaca. Um, I'm really very impressed with this because it's got all the indications that of what a mezcal is, but it's way more subtle, I think, than some of the other ones that you and I have had. And not that that's a bad thing. I like it. I
I like it too. That's why I think, like I describing it, it seems to be a little finer, um, maybe a little tighter on the palate, so to
hmm
speak. So it's nothing. It's very well balanced
you,
on the palate.
it's some of the mezcals that you and I have had tried before in our careers seem really wild. You know what I mean? There's a wildness about them. And this one, as you said, it's more refined. It more leans toward well, Richard Betts is a wine guy, so I'm sure he's a sommelier or a studied wine palate. So maybe he was looking for more of a structure. He's trying to corral the. It's kind of like looking at the lion at the zoo, you know, as opposed to looking at the lion in the jungle. coming face to face with the lion. So this is kind of like, and I don't even want to say zoo so much as like in a natural habitat, like on National Geographic. You're kind of just watching it, as opposed to like, you're right in the cage with the guy, with the animal. So I think you're right. I think it leans toward refinement, and yet it is still, the way they describe it is still a labor of love and very labor intensive. They didn't cut the corners on this. I think the style of distillation is what helped kind of corral these flavors together into something cohesive instead of something completely wild. Because we've had some of the mezcals you traditionally have are extremely wild, especially at higher ABVs.
Oh yeah. Well, I nominate this one.
Yeah, I think so too. I think
That's a promise.
Yeah, I think so. I think our first Mezcal brand of promise nominee. Again, it fits right in with Astral and Richard Betts' focus and his vision for what he was trying to accomplish. I think he's it right on. The gourds is a nice touch. I recommend that you try yours in a gourd, something with an open more mouth surface, more lip surface. I don't think that the Riedel is the proper glassware, but it's what we have right now. But we're experimenting with others. But the more rustic the more rustic vessel that you can use, you're probably better off. And as we get more of these glasswares and vessels, we'll share those with our watchers and readers and all that, and do some one-on-ones and 101s about how to actually use these. So I'm Mike Morales.
I'm Alex Perez. We've been talking about Sombra Mezcal, brand of promise.
Yeah.
Go out and look for it. And look us up on tequilaaficionado.com. And as always, sip wisely.